The red on-air light blinked to life above the camera, and the familiar theme music of The View rolled through the studio. The audience applauded on cue, a well-rehearsed rhythm that echoed off the polished floors. From the outside, everything looked like another ordinary morning on daytime television. But behind the smiles, something was already off. Joy Behar adjusted the papers on the table in front of her, lips pressed into a thin line. She had hosted thousands of shows, debated presidents, grilled actors, and sparred with politicians. She was not easily unsettled. Yet today, she felt it. Across the table sat Keanu Reeves, hands folded calmly, posture relaxed, dressed in his usual understated black jacket and boots. No flashy accessories. No Hollywood ego. Just quiet presence. The audience adored him. You could feel it, an unspoken reverence, a soft hum of anticipation. Keanu Reeves wasn't just a movie star. He was that star, the humble one, the kind one, the man the internet had turned into a symbol of decency in an industry famous for excess. Joy had read the cue cards. She knew the segment's direction. And she didn't like it. "Welcome back," Whoopi Goldberg said warmly, turning toward Keanu. "We're thrilled to have you here. New film, new projects, always great to see you." "Thank you," Keanu replied with a gentle nod. "It's nice to be here." His voice was calm, almost meditative. The kind of voice that made people lean in instead of interrupt. Joy glanced at Sunny Hostin, then at the audience, before clearing her throat. "So, Keanu," Joy began, tilting her head slightly, "you've built this reputation as Hollywood's nicest guy. No scandals, no drama. Some people say it's a little too perfect." A ripple of uneasy laughter passed through the crowd. Keanu smiled politely. "I'm just trying to be a decent human being." Joy raised an eyebrow. "Sure. But in today's world, being neutral can be a problem, don't you think? You don't speak out much. You don't take strong public political stances. Isn't silence a kind of privilege?" The temperature in the studio shifted. Whoopi shifted in her chair. Sunny leaned forward slightly. Even the camera operators seemed more alert. Keanu didn't answer immediately. He looked down at the table for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "I don't think kindness has to be loud," he said finally. "And I don't think shouting makes someone right." Joy let out a short laugh. "That sounds nice, but that's also very convenient. People with platforms have responsibilities." Keanu met her gaze, still calm. "I agree. Responsibility also means listening, helping quietly, not turning every belief into a performance." The audience applauded, real applause this time, not prompted. Joy's smile tightened. "But you do benefit from the system," she pressed. "Hollywood, money, fame. You can afford to stay above the mess." Keanu nodded slowly. "I don't feel above anyone." Joy leaned back, crossing her arms. "You ride motorcycles, avoid interviews, donate in secret. People call you a saint. But isn't that just a brand?" A collective gasp fluttered through the crowd. Whoopi cut in quickly. "Joy." But Joy waved her hand. "No, no. Let him answer." Keanu exhaled softly. When he spoke, his voice was still gentle, but something in it had changed. "I've lost people," he said. "I've buried friends. I've watched suffering up close. I don't talk about it because it's not content." The studio went silent. Joy opened her mouth, then closed it. Keanu continued, eyes steady. "If someone finds hope in how I live, that's good. But I don't need to explain my pain to justify my compassion." Applause erupted, louder than before. Joy's cheeks flushed. "No one asked you to justify pain. But don't you think the public deserves honesty instead of mystery?" Keanu tilted his head slightly. "Mystery is just privacy with a bad reputation." Laughter broke out. Even Whoopi smiled. Joy did not. "So you think shows like this," Joy said sharply, gesturing around the table, "are just noise?" Keanu paused. "I think conversations matter," he said carefully. "But only when they're about understanding, not winning." The applause came again, stronger. Joy pushed her chair back an inch, the scrape barely audible, but the camera caught it. "You're very good at deflecting," she said. Almost rehearsed. Keanu looked genuinely surprised. "I'm not deflecting. I'm answering honestly." Joy leaned forward now, voice rising just enough to feel confrontational. "Then answer this honestly. Do you think celebrities who speak loudly are doing more harm than good?" Keanu looked at the audience. Then back at Joy. I think when anger becomes entertainment, he said, everyone loses. The studio froze. Joy's jaw tightened. That's a bit rich coming from someone who profits from violence in movies, she snapped. A sharp inhale swept through the room. Keanu didn't flinch. Stories explore darkness so we can understand light, he replied. There's a difference between portraying violence and living in it. The audience stood, some clapping, some shocked. Whoopi raised her hands. All right, but Joy stood up. Actually stood up. Her microphone crackled as she pushed back her chair. I'm not going to be lectured on morality by an action star pretending to be a monk. The room erupted, gasps, whispers, stunned silence colliding all at once. Keanu remained seated, calm, still. I'm not lecturing you, he said quietly. I'm asking for respect. Joy stared at him, breathing hard. For a moment, it looked like she might sit back down. Instead, she pulled off her mic. You know what? She said, voice shaking with anger. I'm done with this. Cameras zoomed in. The on-air light was still glowing. Joy Behar turned and walked off the set. Live, the audience was on its feet. Some cheering, some stunned, some silent. Whoopi stared after her, speechless. Keanu closed his eyes briefly, as if in apology, to the room, to the moment, to something deeper. I didn't mean for this, he said softly. But the damage was already done. And outside the studio, millions of screens were exploding with breaking news alerts. Joy Behar walks off the View after heated clash with Keanu Reeves. And this was only the beginning. The moment the on-air light snapped off, the studio fell into chaos. Producers rushed in from every direction, headsets buzzing with overlapping voices. One assistant shouted about cutting to commercials. Another was already on the phone with ABC executives. The audience, still half standing, didn't know whether to clap, sit, or leave. This wasn't supposed to happen, not on The View, not like this. Keanu Reeves remained seated. That detail would later become a headline on its own. While everyone else moved frantically, he stayed where he was, hands folded, eyes lowered, as if grounding himself in the chair. Whoopi Goldberg turned toward him, concern written across her face. You okay? She asked quietly. Keanu nodded. I think so. I'm sorry if I disrupted your show. Whoopi gave a short, humorless laugh. Honey, that wasn't on you. Behind the scenes, Joy Behar was pacing the narrow hallway outside the studio, heels clicking sharply against the floor. A producer tried to hand her a bottle of water. She waved it away. Did you hear the way he talked to me? Joy snapped. On my own show. He didn't insult you, the producer said carefully. He disagreed. Joy spun around. Disagreement is one thing, condescension is another. But even as she said it, doubt flickered across her face. She knew the footage would be replayed again and again. And she knew something else too, she hadn't won that exchange. In the control room, executives were already watching the raw feed. Social media, one of them asked. A junior producer swallowed. Trending. Everywhere. Clips of the confrontation were spreading faster than anyone could contain them. Captions flew across screens. Keanu Reeves destroys Joy Behar with kindness. Joy walks off live after calm Keanu response. When silence speaks louder than shouting. Back on set, Whoopi faced the audience, trying to regain control. Well, she said slowly, that was unexpected. A nervous chuckle rippled through the crowd. We're going to take a short break, she continued. Please stay seated. But the damage was done. This wasn't just a TV moment anymore, it was a cultural one. The backstage sentence. Keanu was escorted off the set by a network handler, not because he was in trouble, but because everyone suddenly wanted him somewhere else. A quiet room, a safe space, distance from the storm. As they walked down the corridor, he stopped. Is Joy okay? He asked. The handler blinked. She's upset. Keanu nodded. I never wanted to hurt her. They reached a small green room. Coffee sat untouched on a table. A TV in the corner replayed the moment Joy stood up and walked out, over and over. Keanu didn't watch. A senior ABC executive entered a few minutes later, face tight with stress. Keanu, he said, extending a hand. I'm Mark. Keanu stood and shook it. Nice to meet you. Mark hesitated, then said, I won't lie. This puts us in a difficult position. I understand, Keanu replied calmly. There was a pause. Mark seemed to expect defensiveness. An argument. Something. Instead, Keanu said something that would later leak to the press and change the entire narrative. If my presence causes division, he said, I'm willing to apologize publicly, or leave quietly. Whatever helps. The room went silent. Mark stared at him. You'd do that. Keanu shrugged slightly. Peace matters more than being right. That sentence, peace matters more than being right, would be quoted in articles, shared on millions of posts, and eventually printed on protest signs outside the network building. Joy watches the playback. In her dressing room, Joy Behar finally sat down. Someone had turned on the TV without asking. The clip played again. This time, she watched it. Not as a host, not as a fighter, but as a viewer. She saw her own posture, the crossed arms, the rising voice. She heard the edge in her words. And then she saw Keanu. Calm, still, unmoved by provocation. When he said, I'm asking for respect, something inside her tightened. Joy muted the TV. For the first time in years, she felt unsure. A knock came at the door. A producer peeked in. Joy, the network wants to know if you're willing to come back on air tomorrow. To address it, Joy didn't answer immediately. Let me think, she said finally. The public reacts. By evening, the story had eclipsed everything else. Celebrities weighed in. Actors tweeted their support for Keanu. Journalists debated whether Joy had crossed a line or simply done her job. Fans flooded The View's official accounts with comments, some furious, some grateful, many emotional. But one video changed everything. A fan-uploaded clip from the studio audience showed something the broadcast cameras hadn't focused on. The exact moment Joy stood up, Keanu's expression didn't change, but his hands clenched together, just slightly. Not in anger. In restraint. The caption read, "This is what self-control looks like." It went viral within hours. The next morning. The following day, The View opened without Joy. Whoopi addressed the camera directly. Yesterday's show sparked a lot of conversation, she said. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Joy will be taking the day off. No explanation beyond that. Then came the surprise. We also want to share a message from Keanu Reeves, Whoopi continued. The screen cut to a simple video. No studio. No makeup. Just Keanu, seated against a plain background. I believe in dialogue, he said. Not domination. Joy Behar is a strong voice, and strong voices sometimes clash. I respect her. I respect this show. And I hope we can all remember that disagreement doesn't have to mean disrespect. He paused. Be kind, especially when it's hard. The clip ended. Silence followed. Then applause, from the audience, from staff, from people watching at home. Joy's decision. That afternoon, Joy Behar released a statement. It was short, careful, and unlike anything she'd written before. Yesterday, emotions ran high. I walked off the set, and that's on me. Keanu Reeves handled our disagreement with grace. I could have done better. No excuses. No deflection. Just accountability. The internet reacted instantly. Some praised her. Some criticized her. But one thing was undeniable, the moment had changed her. What it meant. In the weeks that followed, ratings spiked. Not because of outrage, but because people were talking about something deeper. How to disagree without cruelty. How to hold power without shouting. How calm, in the right moment, can be revolutionary. Keanu returned to his quiet life. Motorcycles. Film sets. Anonymous donations. Joy returned to The View, a little sharper in reflection, a little softer in tone. And that single live moment became something rare in modern television. Not a scandal, but a mirror.